Elon Musk is one of the most outspoken entrepreneurs in the world right now. The genius billionaire technology magnate has never been one to shy from speaking his mind. And recently, he has been vocal about some of the crises facing humanity, and his words paint a very bleak picture of the future. In this interview, Elon shares his thoughts on the issues of falling birth rates and the ramifications of such a trend. He was distressed by the demographic changes happening in society. You can listen to his words and see what Elon thinks the future has in store for us.
I think demographics is a real issue where people are not having kids in a lot of countries. And very often they'll say, oh, I'll solve it with immigration. Immigration from where? If Europe has an average, or many parts of Europe have an average of a 50 or 60, they're only at 50 or 60% of what's needed for replacement, or China for that matter. They're at half replacement rate. Where exactly are we going to find 600 million people to replace the ones that were never born? I think people are going to have to regard, to some degree, the notion of having kids as almost a social duty, within reason. I mean, just if you can and you're so inclined, you should. It's like otherwise civilization will just die, literally. The birth rate is strongly correlated to, it's inversely correlated to wealth, inversely correlated to education, and correlated to religion. So the more religious you are, the less educated, and the poorer you are, the more kids you will have. And this is true between countries and within countries. In the US, the highest birth rate is in Utah, with the Mormons. Yeah. I think if you're saying what are threats to civilization, the lack of people is obviously a threat to civilization. We are going to face in the mid part of the century, and particularly the latter part of the century, a demographic implosion, the likes of which we haven't seen, including the Black Plague. The math is obvious. When did China ever experience a 50% reduction in its population? Never. I mean, basically, pre-writing, okay, because no one's ever written of such a thing. Even the Black Plague, Black Plagues would go through, I think that they might have demolished like a quarter, but never a half. Yeah. And yet Spain, birth rate of 50%. It's as though someone went through and killed half the population, or at least of the future population. There's something better happen to turn this around, because otherwise you have an inverted demographic pyramid. And it's going to, at this rate, the only thing that'll be left will be robots. 3 generations of 50% birth rate, 50% replacement rate, gets you to 12% of where you were. And those poor 12%, all they're going to be doing is taking care of their grandparents. I mean, eventually there just won't be people at that rate. The other, I think religious extremism is obviously a concern. If that grows over time, particularly if it's a sort of a Luddite form of religious extremism. Anti-technology, right, anti-science, right.
As you can see, Elon is concerned about their collective failure to preserve civilization, and his prediction of an implosion is a stark and grim reminder of what awaits us if we continue down this path. So, what does Elon think is the greatest threat facing humanity right now? Now, you might be tempted to think it's AI, but Elon has given the issue a lot more thought, and his answer is surprisingly insightful and different. Take a look.
AI is certainly one of the biggest risks. It could be the biggest risk. I think we need to watch out about population collapse. This is somewhat counterintuitive to most people. They think that, well, there's so many humans, maybe too many humans, but that's just because they live in a city. If you're in an aircraft and you look down, they say, if you dropped a cannonball, how often would you hit a person? Basically never. In fact, there's stuff falling in from space all the time. Natural meteorites, old rocket stages, all the time. But nobody worries about it because the actual, in fact, there's a cool website called Wait But Why, and this guy Tim Urban, like, he actually just did the math, and all humans on Earth could fit in the city of New York on one floor. Don't even need the upper floors. So that's actually the cross section of humans as seen from Earth is extremely tiny, basically vanishingly small, almost nothing. So we need to watch out about population collapse. Low birth rate, I think, is a big risk, and it's also not exactly top secret. You can go look at the Wikipedia, birth rate. So, this is definitely the civilization ends with a whimper, not a bang, because it would be a sad ending, where the average age becomes very high, and really the youth are effectively de facto enslaved to take care of the old people. This is not over.
Now that we have mentioned AI, what does the entrepreneur think about the issue? Well, Elon did share an analogy that doesn't inspire much confidence, and the worst part is that it makes a lot of sense.
AI doesn't have to be evil to destroy humanity. If AI has a goal and humanity just happens to be in the way, it will destroy humanity as a matter of course, without even thinking about it. No hard feelings. It's just like if we're building a road and an anthill happens to be in the way, we don't hate ants. We're just building a road, and so goodbye anthill.
Now you may be thinking about whether such an event is likely, but if AI is anything like us, the analogy is not a possibility, but the most likely outcome. And if that isn't scary, I don't know what is. It makes sense that one of the most intelligent men of our times could find a way to express that so efficiently. Before we move on, if you like these videos, why not subscribe to the channel and ring the bell too? All done? Let's move on. So, what does a threat from AI look like? It's not like we're creating the robots from Terminator, right? But as Musk brilliantly puts it here, the danger is even more subtle than outright rebellion. Rather than focusing on the physical aspect, he highlights the more covert ways a deep intelligence could severely disrupt life. Just watch this to the end to get an idea.
And you can see more and more coming out. I think the robotics, you can see robots that can learn to walk from nothing, within hours, like way faster than any biological being. But the thing that's most dangerous is, and it's the hardest to kind of wrap, kind of get your arms around because it's not a physical thing, is kind of a deep intelligence in the network. He said, well, what harm could a deep intelligence in the network do? So, well, it could start a war by doing fake news and spoofing email accounts and fake press releases, and just by manipulating information. The pen is mightier than the sword.
So, what does Musk have to say for critics who say his predictions are pure speculation and overly pessimistic? I mean, as a genius working at the forefront of machine learning, Elon has plenty of expertise, and he still shot back at so-called experts who are too blinded by their pride to see the reality. He just gave a common example of Go in an interview and left everyone speechless. You can see him breaking down every criticism on his theories right here.
The biggest issue I see with so-called AI experts is that they think they know more than they do. And they think they're smarter than they actually are. In general, we are all much smarter than we think we are, but much less smart, dumber than we think we are, by a lot.
So, what does Elon propose as a solution to this simmering problem? Like any sane man, he's called for a reasonable degree of control and oversight on the process, based on the dangers involved. He explains his arguments, or doing this right here, in the same interview, and we have to say we agree with him. AI is potentially far too dangerous to be allowed to proceed without some checks in place.
I'm not normally an advocate of regulation and oversight. I mean, I think one should generally err on the side of minimizing those things. But this is a case where you have a very serious danger to the public. And so therefore there needs to be a public body that has insight and then oversight on to confirm that everyone is developing AI safely. This is extremely important. I think the danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot. And nobody would suggest that we allow anyone to just build nuclear warheads if they want. That would be insane. And mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Far. So why do we have no regulatory oversight? This is insane.
And now on that note, we must end the video. I hope you all enjoyed all of our picks for today. And if you did, be sure to leave a like down below. With that done, I'll see you all next time.